Welcome to the fabulous Fempreneurship podcast series for entrepreneurs with your host, Elaine Slatter. Each episode addresses topics to help you and your business grow and succeed. Join us as we interview a variety of global experts.
Welcome to our next episode of the fabulous Fempreneurship podcast. We always have exciting guests and exciting subjects, so we hope you enjoy this topic, which is starting on the road to entrepreneurship during COVID. And our guest today is Lee Mitchell. Welcome to our show, Lee.
Hi, Elaine. Thanks so much for having me. So I am the founder of Women in Biz Network, and I'm also a brand strategist, and I help women to brand their brilliance. We all have inner strengths and talents that the world needs more of, especially women of diverse backgrounds. And so I help women with networking as well as mentorship. And anyone who wants to work with me one-on-one can get some support around branding their brilliance.
Well, that's fantastic, because one of the things you have to do as a brand new entrepreneur is find out your why and brand yourself. So let's start in with, it's a little different these days with COVID. I mean, a lot of women might be thinking of starting a business. So what would you consider how you get on this road to entrepreneurship?
Well, that's a really important question, and one that should take some good reflection time to think about that. And really what I start with my clients is their why. So, why they want to start a business or become a freelancer, develop a personal brand. So once they sort of have some reflection time to think about why they want it. So it could be that they want to have more flexibility and freedom in their life, and they want to develop a brand that speaks to their values and what they want out of life. So once they do some reflection around that, then they can sort of take the next step and realize what sort of, their skills and strengths are and how they think that they can create some positive impact in the world. I think the best brands are ones that take some time for reflection on how they can make the world a better place. So for myself personally, I started my business because I wanted flexibility. I also had hit a bit of a plateau in my career in city marketing. I worked for the city of Mississauga in the marketing area for the recreation department, and I loved it. So my values were around being active and healthy and creating community, because that's what I did in my job at the city of Mississauga. But I wanted to be able to do it on my own terms and be able to also have more time with my children. And so, I did a bit of an inventory on what I can do and what sort of low-hanging fruit that I had in. And so for me, I had a good network of women entrepreneurs and moms who had started businesses. So I started networking and asking people in my early days, what sort of things were they looking for? What did they need? I often say to my clients, start a small focus group of around, 4 to 20 people that, smaller, and you can do a couple iterations of it and sort of look for trends on what you're seeing. And then, from there you can start to see, what sort of resources do you have access to? Today, we're so lucky in that, the internet and social media gives us so many opportunities to market ourselves on a really low budget, which is amazing. Then, you're going to want to think about things around, how you're going to have your business set up. Do you want to have a partner? Do you want to be a freelancer under your own name so that you don't have to set up a second, like a business bank? banking account. So you're going to think about like the structure of the business, and then speak to an expert who can help you to decide, from a tax benefits, what makes most sense. So for myself, I incorporated my business because I was doing a lot of events. There was more risk involved, so I wanted to separate my personal self from the business, and for me that's worked out well. But in the early stages, you might want to just collect income under your own name and hire an accountant to help you organize that and know what your responsibilities are around reporting. So that's kind of the starting basis.
Yes, that's very important that you talked about the structure, Lee, because if you're in something like food services, for example, you definitely probably want to incorporate because you have a liability. Mm-hmm. Anything where you have a liability, you do want to set up an incorporation because it protects your family assets so that your family assets aren't a part of anything that anybody can come after. So if you set yourself up as a sole proprietor, it's a separate kind of business in that sense. Then, if somebody wanted to sue you, your house and everything else you own or partly own comes into play, whereas you're protected, as you say, if you incorporate. So that's a very important factor. Most small businesses can start out as a sole proprietor, but it depends on the amount of risk. And as you mentioned, because you were doing events, you definitely had some risk there. So that was a good idea to incorporate.
Yeah, and I took the first year to sort of decide, is this something that I'm going to stick with? Is it viable? All those things. Once I felt confident that I had tried it out for a while, because actually one thing I didn't mention is that I actually took a leave of absence from my employer to start my business so that I could sort of test out the waters without fully opening up my risk. So I didn't actually set up the corporation until I knew that this was something that I was going to stick with.
Yes. Well, that's definitely the route you can go for sure. You really don't have to incorporate if you have no risk and you're making under $100,000 a year. So, that's something to think about. And how about getting money to get yourself started today? There's a lot more opportunity to get funding than there used to be like 10 years ago. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that the world is realizing that they need more women in our commerce, and also helping them to find great employment opportunities. Unfortunately, right now during COVID-19, we're at a 35-year low of women in the workforce, and women have had to take a step back in some situations because of COVID-19 to take care of family. All of a sudden, maybe if they have a health risk in their family, perhaps they're keeping their children home from school. So that opens up a whole lot of extra responsibility. So, knowing what your situation is important in deciding how you're going to go forward. I personally, in my business, I decided to go to my bank with my mortgage as sort of like an assurance that that I was a worthy risk of setting up the business account. If I didn't have that, I don't know, it would have been tough, but that was over 10 years ago. Now I think that there's some more social responsibility, and also I think we're understanding more that women make excellent business owners and also excellent leaders. I think there's more scientific proof, let's say, out there that women make great leaders, and so we need to take a risk and give them some collateral to be able to start businesses. But yeah, you're right. There's different grants and different things going on, especially related to COVID-19, and also just in general in the business world.
Yes, I think banks are a lot more friendly towards women starting businesses than they used to be. Mm-hmm. And each of the banks kind of has an area where they will invest in and other areas that they are not keen on investing in. For example, and these stats are going back quite a way, not current, but mm-hmm. For example, TD was not interested 5 years ago in investing in restaurants. And I'm sure most of the banks today would not be interested in restaurants. It's just not the right timing. But here in Canada, one of the banks that is very open to lending to women is BMO, because they have a whole arm that is geared to encouraging women to starting business. And then also there's the BDC. The interest rates are a little bit higher, but it's very easy now to go online and get a BDC loan. So there's different ways to get started. There's Startup Canada that has funding. The CEO does funding. So there's all different ways. I think you only have to Google that. And if you're not living in Canada, I'm sure if you just go on Google and go into your state or your town or something, you'll find different ways to get started money-wise.
Yeah, and actually on the Women in Biz Network website, we have a resources tab where you can get access to all of wide-ranging areas that you can get support. And so we've listed all those out, including financing opportunities.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts about, like, if you're brand new and say you want to have a wellness company, what are your thoughts about starting in sort of any of the network marketing kind of businesses to get your feet wet to start?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. So, there's different businesses out there that, like you said, network marketing businesses where you bring on other people to sell underneath you, and then you're selling, and they give you different resources and support and training and coaching to get started and to grow your business. Those generally aren't huge money makers, so I don't think you could quit your job and start a networking marketing business unless you really invest a ton of time. I don't really know the stats on how successful those types of businesses are. I guess the drawback is oftentimes you have to pay a monthly fee for that stuff, and a lot of the resources from those types of companies come from the United States. So, sometimes it's not as applicable if you're Canadian starting a business. So I've helped people market Legal Shield businesses, and they have like a portal of resources, which is great. But I found that a lot of the information seems to be kind of geared towards the United States, although that is changing more so as the world is seeing that Canada is a great market to promote business opportunities too.
Yes. There are pros and cons. One of the pros of it is that it's a low barrier to entry, like mm-hmm. money-wise. And it would be an area that you could go in to test some of your own skills, for example, because if you're in that kind of business, you have to like people a lot, because you're going to be interacting with people all the time. And good with social media, because a lot of that has to be done online today. It's not as much in person as it used to be. And as you say, the cons are you would have to really research the company that you're thinking of representing, because if all their training, as you say, is so US centric, it doesn't make sense, especially in something like Legal Shield, where the laws in our two countries are not the same. Then you have to do some due diligence. So, but it's one way to test your own kind of marketability as a person, I guess, your own personal brand. It doesn't mean that you have to stick with that, because sometimes you have to try a few different things before you hit on the one that you're, one, passionate about, and two, that you can really make some money at. Because that's the other
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, for sure. Like with Legal Shield, what's great about them is that they have really invested into the Canadian market. And when you join as a to sell on behalf of them, they have lots of Canadian resources and lots of like if you need a lawyer in Canada, it's all Canadian law firms. So it's actually, out of all of the network marketing businesses that I've come across, and I've seen a lot of them, that's the one that I feel is a really good one, because it's like you really see that you're helping people. But the other thing that I would be careful about too is, are you paying in American funds, right? With the dollar,
Yes.
that can also add some extra expense as well. So I don't know. I guess I'm a bit of a rogue person, and because of my skills are in writing and social media and marketing and graphic design and all those things, I'm like, I have that entrepreneurial mindset. Like, I can do better. I don't need this, sort of thing. Right. But if you don't have those skills and you need a lot of hand holding and a lot of support with the graphic design and all that stuff, and you don't want to have to like set up your own brand and the upfront expense of that, then those networking marketing companies would be great. And also it's an opportunity to, some people almost treat it as a hobby. Like starting a business can be like on a hobby on the side. So, some people knit, some people want to sell Arbonne, and that's really cool. And so, there are some very successful people that sell, Arbonne and different products, and I think are making a good living off of it. But I guess what it does is it creates some discipline around learning how to sell and how to find leads and how to work that whole system, like creating a system so that you can learn to sell and create success. So that's a great memory muscle to be able to get going. And then, it teaches you things about the market, and then you can decide, what, there's stuff that I can do around this. So like another example is, I know someone for years sold cosmetics, and I guess it became like this thing where she almost felt like she was coaching these women around their appearance and, all that sort of thing. And I guess it made her realize that, I'd also really like to become a life coach so that I can help in other areas. And so she took a life coach certification, and now she helps business owners with some of their stress and different things like that. And it was probably from working in, that direct sales market for so long and having really honest conversations with women about what their challenges are, that maybe it sparked some interest to go in to do something that complemented what she was already doing. So now she does both. And that's another trend that you'll find, is that a lot of entrepreneurs have more than one thing going.
Yes. No, that's an excellent point there, because just because you start in something like Arbonne doesn't mean that that's what you have to do 100% of the time. It could be the start, as you said, of something completely different, or your own brand of something, a lifestyle brand or whatever. And then Arbonne could just be a part of it. You know what I mean? So I think people are being a lot more creative in what they're starting than they used to be. Like, it used to be a very one-sided, one-channel thing. So what would you say about women that have a lot of fear around doing anything like this? Because entrepreneurship is definitely different than having a 9-to-5 job. That's for sure.
Oh my goodness, Elaine, what a good point that you bring up. Yeah, I think fear and confidence issues, and also it could be family dynamics as well, right? So you may have some naysayers in your immediate network of people or support system that maybe make you second guess yourself. So what I would say to women that are experiencing that is that, I think that I have become who I was meant to be because of becoming an entrepreneur. So if I could just briefly tell you my own personal story, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My father, when I was a teenager, had a resort, and I saw him lose everything because of the recession. And that left a really strong mark in my heart. And because of that experience, I thought for the longest time, there is no way in hell I am getting anywhere near entrepreneurship. But I think it was in my blood. And it's interesting, actually, both of my sisters are entrepreneurs as well. So I think it does get into your blood. And eventually, after, as I said before in the earlier part of our conversation, that I had decided to leave my very secure job at the government to start my business. But I did it in a less risky way, right? So I took a leave of absence. I didn't, take loans. I didn't do all those things. So I was more, risk adverse for sure. But what it also taught me was, skills that I probably needed more of: public speaking skills, resiliency, creativity, freedom to make decisions and choices in a way that I had never been challenged to do before. Also, I learned to be able to sort of speak back to naysayers or to ignore naysayers and just really start to listen to my own intuition and to my own voice. And entrepreneurial depression is a real thing. I think years ago, if I'm not mistaken, you and I had a discussion about this. And there have been times where I have gone through depression, and I think sometimes it's been related to entrepreneurship, and that's because it feels so close to me, right? So there's, they say, like, a lot of people will say, oh, it's like my baby, right? Well, I kind of caution people with that, because if it becomes so caught up with your identity, then it can really, if things are going well, of course, you're going to feel like $1 million. But if things aren't going so well, then it's going to really start for you to become really hard on yourself. And so I had to learn to counter that with really thinking about my impact on a bigger scale. So, like, maybe if I had to put myself out there and do something that felt super uncomfortable and I was afraid of being judged, I would say to myself, if I'm just helping one person, if one person makes a big change in their life because of maybe following some advice that they got from myself or from the advice that's on our website, or became a member or whatever, that's one person that's going to then inspire more people. And it's like that ripple effect. So I also started to invest a lot of time into giving back and making my company socially responsible. And when I started to do that, then I saw the bigger picture in a different way. And it really helped me get through some of the harder times when the market changed. And all of a sudden, you go through times where you feel like your business or you are really popular. And then all of a sudden you're not. And then you're like, well, how do I fix this or change this? What do I do? And, is it because of me? It can cause you to really second guess yourself. And I've talked to other entrepreneurs and our mentors. So we have 8 mentors through Women in Biz Network. And, we have really honest conversations with our mentors. And a lot of them have experienced some serious downtimes. And a lot of them have taken therapy and discuss some of their issues around owning their business and the stress and the anxiety and the different things, and how that therapy has helped them to be better business owners.
Yes, I can totally understand that. And, I mean, one thing women don't do very well is celebrate their successes. And that's what you're saying, that when you started Women in Biz and you were going through a bit of a tough time, celebrating the things that you did well, who you helped, that's really important to do so that you don't slip into a depression. And for some people, that's journaling it, like have a success journal. It doesn't matter how small that seems to be to you, like having a success, it's huge to the other person on the other side. So you have to think of what a small success for you could be a huge milestone for the person that you've helped. So, yes, you're right. You definitely have to put it all in perspective, because entrepreneurship, you'll be working longer hours than you probably did in your previous career, but there's a lot of joy and success from doing something that is your passion, rather than just doing something for a corporation. So there's two sides to it, and but don't have fear. I mean, if you've got a good idea, and the 10 to 20 people that you've scoped out think that your idea is a good idea because it fills a need in the community, then don't second guess yourself a million times before you start. You have to start somewhere. Like every successful entrepreneur has had to sort of pivot their business for success. And sometimes your first idea doesn't work out, but that doesn't mean that you're a failure. Women often put a label on that as failure, but it isn't. You have to reframe that as a learning experience, and from that could spring something completely wonderful. So don't give up. Don't give up. That would be my advice. If you have a good idea, don't let fear get in your way. It's sort of like in the career path, women don't apply for the next job up the ladder until they have 90% of the credentials, whereas a guy will go for that job if he has 50 or 60% of the qualifications. So it's the same in entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say, absolutely. Like what I'm finding is that women want to go out and get more certifications and, oh, well, if I just do this, then I will start the business. So they just keep on putting things off. And, that's a shame, right? Because the sooner you get started, the sooner you can start becoming successful. And it doesn't need to be perfect. It's okay if it's good enough, right?
Yes, because you can perfect it as you go along.
Absolutely. And if you spend all kinds of money and time up front, and then you realize that the market requires you to pivot, then, so you don't want to, you want to give yourself some time to see how it goes. And then you can fully refine the brand.
Yes, exactly. And the brand will develop on its own as you move along the path. Then you can add things in, take things out. Maybe you don't like your logo 4 years down the road, and then it's the time to change it. But don't, as you say, spend thousands and thousands of dollars on branding only to find out that, first you'll find out that really isn't that important. The look that you spent $5,000 creating, that's not what people are buying. They're buying something else. They're buying the product. They're buying you. It's not the look at the logo. But, you can make that more professional as you go down the road. Like you can start out with something as simple as Canva to design your logo. And then later on down the road, you can just refine that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of freelance services that that you can get them to give you a bunch of logo options, and then Yeah. So, and very low cost. So there's so many different ways that you can go at it. There's also bartering too.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's another area. Actually, we Women in Biz has a private Facebook group, and one of our members that I hadn't connected with in a while sent this lovely message about how much she appreciated all the support she got from Women in Biz, and that she was offering some free graphic design in exchange for just to thank her, to thank the commitment that and support that she got from Women in Biz. She wanted to pay it forward and help out. Now, I generally don't tell people to give away things for free because that can set you back. But if it's a goodwill gesture and it's one of those micro giving situations, then there's lots of entrepreneurs are so creative and
Yes.
innovative and flexible. So they figure things out. Everything is figure outable.
Well, I love that. Everything is figure outable. It definitely is. I mean, we're in an amazing time with so many internet resources. It's not hard to find what you need. And if you're in a network like Women in Biz, and there are a lot of other networks out there, but I mean, I know your network has a lot of support. Reach out if you're starting out. That's what I say. Reach out to don't sort of hold yourself up in your in-home office and don't reach out to people, because women especially, are very helpful. They want to help other women succeed. So if you're not sure how to do something or who to hire or whatever, your network's going to help you out a lot. And I'm always doing that with my network. If people need help, I have a big LinkedIn network, and I say, okay, what do you need help with? Oh, well, so-and-so can do this, so-and-so can do that. Here's an idea here, try this, try that, and you'll be surprised at how many women will help other women. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. We're all in it together in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that's actually why we started our mentorship program, because we felt that, well, one, there's scientific proof that says that if you are looking at an obstacle and you're by yourself, you're going to perceive it as more difficult than if you have someone who is supportive beside you. So that's an important caveat, is that the person that's standing beside you looking at that obstacle, you have to feel some emotional safety with that person. If they make you feel safe, then you are going to feel that you can take on challenges more. So with our mentorship program, one of the things that women were saying to us in research that we did around mentorship is that statistically, businesses that have mentorship do better. Women specifically do better with mentors. And the support with a mentor is amazing, but oftentimes people will feel, especially women, will feel uncomfortable asking for, reaching out and asking for help. So what we've done with Women in Biz Network is we've created this support system with our 8 mentors that are available to you each month in different aspects. So if you need a financial mentor, a leadership mentor, an HR mentor, pretty much every area of business, we have a mentor. But we also have a transformational impact coach who will help you with some of those fear-based things that people have challenges with. Jill Valentine fills that role, and her and I have regular talks, and she lifts me up. She's mentoring me. I'm mentoring her on different areas. So what we love about Women in Biz is that it takes away those awkward conversations. Although I really do encourage women to get comfortable with feeling a little bit awkward, putting themselves out there, and asking for help. But if that's not your bag and you want to get access to people without having to go through a process of courting them, then Women in Biz is kind of a cool solution for you.
Well, that's fantastic. That is a great way. You're absolutely right. I am a mentor for a program called Futurepreneur, which is a program for the under 40 starting in business. And if you're borrowing money from Futurepreneur, then you have to have a mentor for 2 years, because they realize that starting a business without a mentor is really hard. And I've been doing this now for probably 8 years, and it's great. It's for both people, the mentor and the mentee. I always learn from my mentees as much as I'm helping them. So having a mentorship portal in Women in Biz is fantastic. Lee has graciously offered our listeners to this podcast a special, and it's 30% off an annual membership to Women in Biz. And to do that, you would go on the Women in Biz website, which will be in our podcast link, and just insert the code FABFAN 30%. We'll also put the code in the blog posts so that everybody who wants to join this great Women in Biz network can do so with a 30% discount off the annual membership. Thank you, Lee, for that offer. So thank you very much for being such a great guest, Lee. That's been a fantastic conversation. So we encourage any women that are thinking of starting a business to get that support that you need. Don't have that fear. And if you need help, find an organization such as Women in Biz to help you get started.
Elaine, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. And I just want to give a shout out to yourself and to the fabulous feminine entrepreneurship community. I've been in your private group, Facebook group that you have for many years, and I know you're doing fabulous work, and we're so lucky to have you in this ecosystem.
Well, thank you very much. Your ecosystem is just as good. We need to be a community of women that it doesn't matter what group you're starting or continuing all around the world. We're here for everybody, and let's get more women in business.
Yes, women are great at collaboration over competition. That's one really cool aspect of being a woman entrepreneur, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you once again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Elaine.
To receive your free gift and connect directly with the podcast guest, visit our website at fabfempreneurship.com/entrepreneur mastermind podcasts and click on this episode. Here's to building your business growth, one step at a time. If you enjoyed this podcast, why not tune in to other episodes in this series at fabfempreneurship.com/entrepreneur mastermind podcasts.